you guys enjoyed the break. The next step we are going to talk about is the implementation and intervention. The first one we will speak of is Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. Looking at the client's biopsychosocial aspects currently and in the past, Erikson's theory of psychosocial development is a thorough guide in understanding the underlying causes of her addiction. The client was unable to develop a healthy self-concept, in her adolescent stage due to her mandatory role of a caregiver to her alcoholic parent. Her placement in a parental role led to a pattern of role confusion, and her identity on a micro level was lost in her parents' demands over her own. Upon reaching young adulthood, her adolescence has impacted her inability to identify a meaningful relationship. Because she lacks a healthy sense of self, she finds herself quickly ending relationships due to an incapability to sustain a bond with others. The next we will speak about is attachment theory. Attachment theory, according to Bowlby in 1988, is a psychological theory of human connection. Attachment theory suggests that, number one, human beings are wired to connect with one another emotionally in intimate relationships. Number two, there is a powerful influence on children's development by the way they are treated by their parents, especially by their mothers. And number three, a theory can explain later tendencies in relationships based on such early experiences, according to Snyder, Shapiro, and Treleaven in 2011. In comparison to the attachment theory, the worker feels as though the client may face difficulties building healthy bonds on a meso level with surrounding peers, due to the lack of security she felt throughout her life connecting with her parents. The worker feels this may also provide insight as to why she is unable to maintain an attachment with her current boyfriend, due to attachment at a young age being altered. Rather than allowing an attachment to her boyfriend or surrounding peers, the client's instinct is to retreat as her parents have done with her. In efforts to enhance her relationships and sort through her issues with micro-level attachment, the worker referred her to the psychology department. The next theory we will speak about is the ecological systems theory. Another theory that applies to this case is ecological systems theory. Using a person and environment perspective, it is conclusive that the client's surrounding meso and macro social systems are impacting her readiness to change. She has contemplated the idea of discontinuing her use, but because she is surrounded by a constant party-like atmosphere at home and in her artistic efforts, she feels powerless over the reminder of alcohol. Due to her surrounding social systems partaking in activities involving the use of alcohol, her inhibition to discontinue use results in conflict among her peers. The client is consistently met with the dilemma of whether to reside at home without the obtainment of alcohol and at the expense of a social life, or to continue a social life at the expense of her autonomy. The worker recommended the client attend EPR support groups in order to find a safe place to disclose her difficulties with individuals facing similar issues and attend other social events offered by EPR, which is a recovery group. The next we will speak about is the conflict theory. The client is facing an unequal distribution of power, best explained through conflict theory. She is unable to relocate due to the convenient accessibility to her education and a lack of funds. And because she is close to campus, she finds it difficult to stay away from nearby bars and social groups involved with drinking. The inability to leave her environment enables feelings of oppression if she is not partaking in the same activities as her peers. She would like to promote her artistic efforts, but due to the consumption of alcohol being a tool to lure prospective buyers into her art shows, she feels as though she is unable to exclude alcohol. The next we will talk about is solution focus. The process of creating small, reasonable goals is something inherited through the trial and error of experiences. After speaking with the supervisor who sat in with the session, the practicing worker realized she was using a brief solution focused approach. According to the article Child and Adolescent Mental Health, the concrete goals and rating scales of SFT lend themselves to outcome research, and many of the centers of solution focused activity have followed up clients with positive results. The finding in this study conclude that 86% of clients reported a good outcome from the solution-focused approach and at an 18-month follow-up. By giving her resources to obtain goals through a stronger support group with common goals in mind, and offering an opening to meet with her current peer group to enhance their understanding of her addiction, the worker allowed the client an opportunity to further pursue a permanent recovery. Next, we will talk about disenfranchised grief. During the intervention phase, the client was informed by her stepmother of a death in her family. Her father passed due to a liver failure with the assumption that the cause of death was relative to his alcoholism. The unexpected death of her father led to a reform in the client's goals, and the worker recommended group sessions with individuals facing issues with grief in order to adopt various ways to cope and promote support among peers. In order to ensure her health is not at risk, the worker requested she attend an appointment with the clinic by the next session. Although the grief group is limited on the amount of time she may attend without financial obligation, the worker communicated with the president of Eagle Peer Recovery, who agreed to assist the client in the creation of a grief group free of charge for individuals who feel they need further help or would like to support individuals managing grief. Next we will speak about the importance of human relationships. In order to offer competent service to the client, the worker invited the client to display her artwork at a sober dance party on the campus. Because SARC is paired with EPR, they have the ability to include recovering addicts in events in hopes to improve human relationships and enhance the worth of their people through activities that allow them to feel unified. The client attended this sober dance party and finds she is enjoying the sense of accomplishment that derives from the sober activities and presentation of her artwork. The client encountered many individuals facing similar issues in substance use, which enables her to feel more comfortable with further attending meetings. Due to the appreciation of her artwork from the sober dance party, she is requested to attend other events and encourages others to display their artwork as well. There are several policy issues within this case study. Because SARC is purely based on psychoeducational methods, the worker supervisor has informed the worker of the risks associated with crossing the line between unlicensed counseling and the informative prevention of alcoholism. The supervisor in SARC and the practicing worker lack the appropriate license to counsel the client, and because of this, are forced to refer the client to a licensed counselor in the psychology department. Due to the unknown health issues and the absence of diagnosis, it is difficult for the worker to determine whether a treatment center is a crucial option in enhancing the client's well-being. According to the NASW Code of Ethics, social workers should include sufficient and timely documentation and records to facilitate the delivery of services and to ensure continuity of services provided to clients in the future. As a practicing worker, she is unable to legally obtain documentation of the client's health record and relies on the offered information of the client in order to make informed decisions. Because a licensed counselor is limited by confidentiality regarding the client's possible diagnosis, the lack of insight serves as a barrier between the necessary steps to take in competently assisting the client. Next, we will speak about the evaluation part of the client session. In order to collect a measurable micro-level change from the session with the client, Qualitative and quantitative data was collected. Qualitative data was noted through the verbal communication of clients' problematic factors and the mood levels of the client for the effectiveness of the resources used. Quantitative data was collected through the use of a motivational ruler given to the client before and after the resources were utilized, and changes in the scoring to the questions displayed whether the qualitative data matched the data collected from the quantitative data. The next thing we'll speak about is termination. The client has already been warned on the termination aspect, and no further goals were created besides the goals desired for grief in order to cope with her grief of the grief of her father. The termination process was first initiated in the planning stage in order to ensure the client is aware of the end of sessions and able to prepare if unexpected concerns become apparent. After giving the client the motivational ruler to evaluate the likelihood change has been made, the worker informed the client of the ending of their sessions and reviewed the steps that were taken towards the goal attainment in case the client was unaware of mentioned resources that may assist her in the furtherance of her well-being. The client utilized all resources and displayed emotions of joy and excitement toward her newly found sober lifestyle, but explained she would miss the relationship she built with the worker due to it being a stable relationship. The worker asked her to explore the micro-level emotions and ensured her she would be thought of as well. The client's permission was given to the worker to follow up on the client's progress in order to ensure the well-being of the client was continued. Because this was the worker's first client within the field of social work, and she built a bond with the client, her empathetic nature led to an attachment not only on a professional level, but a personal level as well. As for the client, the worker became a role model and healthy guide for achieving her goals. The client became more comfortable in taking on the role of a caregiver for her peers and family members so much that she never had the opportunity to experience a working relationship where her best interest and well-being was a priority. The client was reassured that although the practicing worker would no longer be able to assist her in her journey, she will have the help of a supervisor at the Substance Abuse Resource Center so long as she is a student, and through her new perspective of a relationship, she will be able to work towards strengthening or obtaining healthy meso-level support systems. In order to tie the knot on termination, the worker requested she explain how she feels about her goal attainment resolution and issues she was facing prior to termination. She explained her contentment with the progress she has made and acknowledges the effort she will need to put forth in order to maintain her healthy lifestyle. By the time termination was reached, the client obtained an example of a healthy relationship, support groups facing common dilemmas, therapy to assist in the discovery of her sense of self, sober support for the display of her art, developed a macro-level, campus-wide grief group to help with the grief others may be facing towards the loss of a loved one. The final step is the follow-up. Prior to termination, the worker obtained informed consent from the client to follow up on the progress being made in order to reassure the client that her well-being is a priority. At 6 months, there is a follow-up done where the worker emailed the client in order to see if the sessions were productive or not. Several barriers were included may have been included due to the not being able to get a hold of the client, as well as possible feelings of separation and loss. And that is to conclude our session.